ma'am is already with us.
Okay.
Hey guys, hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello,
Good
ma'am. Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm all
Ma'am,
fine.
Very fine, ma'am.
कैसी चल रही है आपकी studies वगैरह etc. I hope you're loving the course, you're loving everything.
Yes, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Payments as well.
Superb. I hope I'm audible. I mean, my mic is working fine and you guys are, able to hear me properly, loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think we can get started. So how would you like to go forward? I mean, do you have the script of questions
Yes.
that
Yes, ma'am.
fair? Let's kind of take that up then.
Okay. Just a second, ma'am. Okay. So very good afternoon, ma'am, and all my colleagues. It is a great honor and enthusiasm that we all of us stand before you to introduce an outstanding entrepreneur who has played a pivotal role in shaping the success story of the Harvest Global. This remarkable individual's journey is a testament to the power of vision, innovation, and Stanford's dedication. As the driving force behind the Harvest Global, she has transformed a simple idea into a global enterprise that stands at the forefront of its industry with an unparalleled ability to foresee trends and anticipate market shift. She has led her team with a remarkable precision, propelling the company to new heights of the achievements. So we all welcome you here, ma'am, for this brief interview session. It's under our project. I introduce my colleagues here. Me, Yashika Goyal, Amisha Singh, Durgesh, Mahesh, Manchi, Pratyash, and Kashyap. We have been given as a project to uh, we have been assigned as a project to learn about the entrepreneur, how they become success. They know about the success story, the life story. So basically, we are here for that. Ma'am, please, it's
All
your
right.
honor.
So, that's a entrepreneurship. Like we're not really in that typical world when, Ambani's or for that matter, Tata's and Birla's. So those were the time when, there were very few of entrepreneurs and there were very few who came up with this idea of, kind of business, etc. And they're pretty grown up. And then, at this point in time, so entrepreneurship in today's time versus the entrepreneurship when these all industrialists came up is completely different. So, it's like, and specifically when you get into a corporate job and you have a certain lifestyle and you have a, sort of a fat paycheck and, you're globally positioned in that environment, basically, kind of thinking about a business and putting your job aside, putting your, I would say fat paycheck aside and putting your lifestyle aside and thinking of starting up your own venture. The very first thing that comes to your mind is like, what should I start? And then, it's like, where will the money come from? And then when will the business, start giving me the returns? These are a couple of questions which require a thorough due diligence. So it's not some sort of heady decision that we get into. India is not really at that juncture wherein, there are, wherein, I would say, wherein there is a, much of a scope of any, a huge disruption because majority, we are catching up with the developed world. There is already a set of, business community very established. So almost whichever field was to be, in a way entered into, was to be, disrupted, almost has happened. So at this point in time, if you are basically giving up your job and you want to get into entrepreneurship, you have to, kind of play your cards very, very well. Specifically financial. It all starts with financial. Like, are your parents really those rich who can give you the millions and billions of basically dollars to, kind of burn into the business and then you wait that your business will start giving you the returns and the stuff. And but having said that, apart from the capital requirement which is there in the business, plus you already have a certain lifestyle, you already have a paying lifestyle. Keeping that aside, and then again identifying a business that you want to enter into, right? So almost each industry is very saturated. you really have to, kind of look closely into the ecosystem, into the environment, into the atmosphere around you. I mean, within yourself, you see such a competition, in job market itself, you see such a competition. The competition is very acute. And the chances of success of a startup is just about 2%. It's as minimal as it is to get into a, premier B school for that matter. It's about 1 to 2%. It's a hard fact. And then, like I said, it has to be, so that's where you have to be on your edge. I mean, you have to have a very fantastic, out of the world business idea. You have to have the very fantastic, out of the world, in a way, globally positioned team to execute that idea and to think in parallel that we need to sustain in this. हमारे को इससे पैसा बनाना है, because उसमें सबसे पहले तो आपको पैसा डालना है. वो पैसा कहाँ से आएगा? The पैसा either will come from your family or from your own savings. So I would say after your family burns on your MBA, I believe they would be, I would say, I don't think that they would be very willing to give you those again, couple of lakhs or a couple of, 40, 50 lakhs that, oh, go ahead and start your business, because that's very unpredictable, right? I mean, India as a society, we've started catching up with the startup culture these days, starting, specifically after the, Shark Tank and such, serials. But then we as an Indian society are still very, reticent to the idea, or very, not very receptive to the idea of starting up or business, etc. So we think twice when our kids say, I want to start business. I mean, what we say, I mean, as a word of caution, we say, stick to your job. I mean, these days, there's so much of unemployment. You better, you have a lovely job. You have really, and specifically in my case, I was positioned in Hong Kong, and I was really, really, I really had a very, very good job. So the very first reaction my father had is like, you've gone out of your mind. क्या करोगे? Business का क्या भरोसा है? I had about 70, 80 lakhs as savings. I was like, Papa, tab tak to, the startup culture is catching up. I'll get funded and I have a strong ecosystem and all that stuff. So, I mean, having said that, there are factors. I mean, the environment is really catching up with that startup ecosystem, with giving that, business friendly policies. Government is coming up. A lot of financial grants, etc., are being, kind of announced day in, day out. But then you have to have that, sense or a very clear cut idea in your mind that what business do you have the edge over others. Let's say if someone starts, tomorrow, if someone copies your idea or overhears your idea and starts implementing it, what is the competitive edge that you have over that other person? It could be as easy as having a globally positioned team. So it's a mix of factors, basically, that entrepreneurship is about. I mean, you have to be very aware of your environment, of your ecosystem. And if you want to, then in that case, basically, then when it becomes very clear to you that, yeah, you don't have anything but to start up, then you really, kind of shortlist your, in a way, your avenues, you pick up that business idea, you start building on that, and you build your ecosystem on that. Speed and scale are two things. When you start up, you have to be very closely connected to the ecosystem. You have to speed up, to the competition. There's a competition every field. In startup ecosystem also, there's a competition. Scale. You have to keep building on your idea. You have to keep, you basically have, you don't really, let's say you've developed some extra, you have to take it to the market in any which way is possible. So speed and scale, competition advantage, your team, your ecosystem, and then your knowledge of the subject. Ultimately, you're a founder, you should know your subject more than anyone else. So these are a couple of factors which I would believe are a make or a break story for a good startup. And be very rest assured that it's a very, very, financially roller coaster ride. You should be ready to give up that, plush lifestyle to basically live through the news. There are times with, you might get to see those times when, funding doesn't really come easy. So you have to really, kind of break, in a way, bootstrap, have to arrange the funds and the stuff. So it's, I would say, you need to know your game very, very well. My only last and, I would say finishing 2 cents are that you need to know your game very, very well. And you should be the only one, I would say, you should know the pros and cons of it. Let's say if you start in education tech, you've thought about some idea, you have to do that research that how many other people are thinking on the similar lines. And then you have to gestate on your idea. You have to think through on your idea. Don't really divulge your IPs to anyone. Be very privy to your intellectual property. So it's a very, very, self-aware, environmental aware personality that you need to build a startup to a scale. And then I would say, yeah, Harvest Global in Harvest Global, we've seen that journey. And I believe then, and I'm very sure, I'm quite confident that, we should reach that, unicorn, I would say threshold, but then how soon, that is still a question. I mean, we are still in seed. So seed, pre-series, and then series is, and then, unicorn status. So though we are targeting in about 2.5 years, let's say how long does it take? Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for this brief insight. Now my colleagues will ask a little bit of questions, will interact with you. Over to you, Amisha. Okay, now I would like to ask, what are the challenges you faced when you started?
So challenges, Amisha, are many. In fact, more than opportunities is the challenges that we face. So, it could be financial challenge. Let's say, once you've burned your savings into your startup in either in paying salaries or in developing your product or in marketing your product. So the very first challenge, a very, very critical challenge, I would say, is the financing. So if you don't have the financing at right time, during the journey of your startup or your business, it fails. And moreover, the ecosystem support. For example, my startup is into agriculture. So for agriculture, I knew that I had to position my startup at every single place that makes sense to the entire agriculture in India. So that's where I placed my agriculture into ICAR, which is Indian Council of Agri Research. We are being incubated there. We have to place our startup at a global level at Stanford. If we want to penetrate into global market, we have to be positioned either in Harvard's or Stanford's. So that's where, challenges are, it's just more than opportunities, it's challenge. How you convert those challenges into opportunity, once you're there, those challenges become opportunities. So right now, let's say, after specifically I got into Stanford, the mentor who's assigned to me himself is from Wharton, and we are working to, kind of on the strategies to take the product, to the global markets, specifically in the US and Israel. So yeah, many, many challenges, starting from the financial to having right ecosystem on your side, and then set up right team, set up right people in the startup. Many challenges. It's a very, very, tough and a nerve-wracking journey. They're actually, I'd say I used to be very, very bright professional, at IBM Hong Kong. I was actually leading the team of very senior folks. I was a data center architect. So I don't think that, the kind of times that I've seen in Harvest Global, had it been someone else, I believe they would have given up. So you really need to have a nerves of steel to sustain this journey. Because financially, you get so broken at times that you start thinking twice your own decision. You start doubting your own, kind of confidence, whether can I make it really in time? And that is like despite a couple of fundings and despite a couple of, grants, etc. So as a person, as a human, you need to have that never, giving up kind of, character. It's like you need to plan your finances, and in fact, importantly, your finances and your journey or your, operations in such a way that, you just sustain through survival. Sustain through the rough times, so that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And once you're there, I believe the odds are more in your favor to, kind of progress and scale and grow.
Next, over
But
to you,
entrepreneurship, yes, is very much, I would say, don't really take this heady plunge, if your finances are really, not in. Finances is very important, specifically, for the business graduates who have a certain level of, career path. I would say, don't just take a heady decision that I want to start something of my own. Take a stock of your own situation. Very thoroughly analyze your finances, because after MBA, your parents expect rather some sort of support from you rather than supporting you, right? This is one of the most, they're like masters of an education. You're expected to behave that, and that too, like when you are into business management, you're expected to have your own, have the command on your own issues. You're expected to sort your own life in terms of every aspect specifically. So I'd say everybody should have that corporate experience, that real-time experience of understanding how does the businesses, the traditional businesses, the conventional businesses work, and be on the lookout if you want to get into it. For example, I was on the lookout for 2 years. I did a thorough research for 2 years. And in a way, the prototype of my product was very much there during my job itself. So that is why my company is Idea Invested. So I didn't leave my job, honestly, until I had an alternate income to fall back on. But then when I left the job, I full-time got into my own startup. So, and there were times when we couldn't raise the fund, when we couldn't close the fundraise round in time, and we were like completely strained in terms of finances. But then we knew that this is temporary and this would part. So let's say, had I really not planned my finances in time and thoroughly, I'd be in soup. I didn't have a choice but to, kind of close the shop and go back to my job. So it's like, do your thorough due diligence on your finances, on your positioning, on your family. On your family priorities. Let's say, in your family, if the culture is about, some sort of job and a corporate kind of culture, then you have to have that fallback option. Let's say if you need a backup from friends and family, do you have that ecosystem? So yeah, a couple of these factors. So take this as a very, very, personal experience. I'm sharing really, the journey personally that I faced. And I believe, I'm yet to take the Harvest Global to that level wherein we are counted as the upcoming unicorn. We're still on that journey. But yeah, having seen the journey that we have and having positioned the Harvest Global across a few, really strategic places, so I think we can make it and we'll be able to make it.
So next question would be asked by Pratyansh.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
So, my question was, what motivated you to keep going? Like you said you face problems. So, what was your
Yeah. So
motivation?
Pratyansh, it's like a gamble. When you bet your last dollar onto it, so you're like, यार एक और pitch कर लेते हैं, हो सकता है इस बार crack हो जाए. And when your product is ready, for example, my product is very, very well ready right now. So I pitched my idea to a couple of venture capitalists, and then they were like, revenue wise, it's too early. So what kept me motivated is the fact that I'm already, far ahead than many others. So we are positioned at ICAR, Indian Council of Agri Research. We're positioned at Ministry. We're positioned at Stanford. So you have to weigh the odds that are in your favor. So agar ye sab nahi hota, then I would rather really, shut the shop and go back to my job. There's no point in wasting your time and killing yourself. Yeah, be very practical. Don't get emotionally attached to anything. It's a gamble which has to be very, very, calibratedly played. So apna ek thorough assessment karo. What we call is like SWOT analysis. You have to do of your startup. And when you see that strengths are the odds are more in your favor, that gives you a boost. That yeah, ठीक है, ये round close नहीं हुआ तो और 2-3 महीने से. That's where your fallback option comes to the rescue, either your friends or family. या थोड़ा सा उधार दे दो. Because वो उनका वापस हो ही जाना है, and that with interest, so they are also happy helping you, giving you that helping hand. But again, you thorough assessment, positioning क्या है आज की डेट. आपको लगता है बाउंस बैक कर सकते हो. अगर odds बहुत ही against हैं, then I would say wrap up. और अगर odds favor में है, then wait, survive until the odds become in your favor. This precisely happened to me. About 3-4 months back, I was at that juncture. जितने भी government के tender हैं, my product is B2B. In the government tenders, there's a strict criterion that the startup should have been, into existence for 3 years or this much financial turnover and all that, blah, blah, blah. My startup is just 2 years. So I wait, sitting, hand in hand, wait for the 3 years to complete and then participate in the tenders and the stuff. So that's what gave me an opportunity basically to look for alternate markets, to look for alternate, segments, because I knew that, my positioning is very strong. I just need to explore more opportunities. But then, yeah, had I not been already present in these, I would say strategic places, then of course I would think twice whether I need to really stay back and start a foreign business at all, because already, I've already must have blown up almost about 2 CR. 1 crore के आसपास तो investment हो गया हमारे company में, and rest, about 70 lakhs from my own pocket and rest here and there. So about 2 CR of, after about burning 2 CR, I was, and then having being present across the board in the ecosystem. So odds, I could realize that the odds are more in my favor than in my against. That basically, the facts. Basically, of course, your own sense of courage. I mean, your own courage, your own, I would say, gut feeling that yeah, you can make it, plus practicality of the facts. I mean, let's say if there is a tick mark that investors should invest in the startup, they would look, product acha hai, where all are they present, how is their track record. So the checkbox, as long as more the checkbox are in your favor and you have the gut and gumption to sustain through a couple of more months, then yeah, that kept me going. Yep.
So next Kashyap will be asking questions.
Hello, ma'am. I am Kashyap.
Hey.
And my question is, what do you enjoy most being an entrepreneur?
Being my own boss, yeah. Okay. So being your own boss, like the freedom that it gives you to control your time. Right. I was working with IBM Hong Kong. I used to log in, in an office at 8 a.m. in the morning. Imagine, I mean, though in my own startup, there are days when I, spend really sleepless nights, but then that's one-off situation. I'm not really, commanded by anyone to clock my hours for anyone. So it's like being your own boss, the freedom that it gives you. I mean, plus, that you'll make it big. So, couple of factors. And moreover, deep inside that you are in a way creating an industry completely altogether. I mean, consider examples, Zomato, Swiggy, I mean, Ola, Uber for that matter. Everything was so manual before the onset of such startups. I mean, did we ever imagine that we'd be ordering our food on application, on apps, etc., blah, blah, blah. So there's like that very inspiring fact that you in a way, you're creating an industry, a new industry altogether. And, it's basically the disruption that you're making. Of course, the money part of it, like you cannot really deny the fact that, you deep inside that you can make it big, considering that you've already, kind of taken that journey. At least you've come this far. You're present. People know that you exist. And not really just locally, but globally, people know that you exist. So I would say there are many factors to really relish and, cherish also. Yes. Next.
Mahesh, please.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Yeah, ma'am. I would like to know who was your biggest inspiration in your entrepreneur journey?
My biggest inspiration. I mean, my biggest inspiration, that really makes me think actually. Steve Jobs, I can say, was my biggest inspiration. I mean, I actually, his was the only autobiography, and that is again very practical and very real. His was the only autobiography I read before deciding to finally leave my startup. So, oh, sorry, before starting my own startup and before leaving my job. So his was the only autobiography that, in a way, that inspired me to basically, kind of take that chance and basically play that gamble of, even if the situation comes to that level of, playing, I mean, living through your nose, like, I mean, as in like living through the entire penury of not really having a plush lifestyle, etc., etc. So it takes lot and lot actually to kind of scale your business. I mean, it's not really, there is no magic wand that you just, kind of swap and it just booms. So it is like a very, very disciplined journey. It's very thoroughly calibrated journey, which you take and which takes its own time to, kind of manifest into something which starts giving you the return basically. And the time could be anywhere between 2 to 3 years at least. So you should have that, you should be mentally prepared to live through the challenges during that journey. So yes, I read about the gentleman and the times that he faced. So in a way, I was very encouraged that it really takes something. It really takes a lot and a lot, us as humans have to be ready at times to, kind of really not attach our lifestyle very emotionally to our aspirations, as to in the long run what we're trying to achieve. So if we have to follow that plush lifestyle to, maybe have uh, some sort of really meaningful, outcome of out of life, then we should be ready. I think the bet is really, I mean, the gamble is worth playing. So the bet is worth taking.
Ma'am, the Manshi will be asking your question.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
But sorry,
Now,
ma'am, just to interrupt you, just for a second. We are having only 5 minutes. After that, we have to again share a link.
No, that's okay. So I think we can wrap it up within 5 minutes, or do you need to
Yeah.
extend? Do you
No,
need to
ma'am.
extend?
No,
I
ma'am.
think we can wrap it
Can
up
ma'am,
within
there's
5 minutes.
Yeah.
one
Okay.
question I would like to ask.
Manshi, you're not audible. You can type your questions if.
I'm saying there's just one question that I would like to ask. I mean, now
Hmm.
that you've had an idea about being an entrepreneur, and now that you've also worked in corporate, so what would you suggest to someone? Like, which one is better?
I mean, I would
as
suggest, no. I would suggest you take up your job. I mean, be very focused during your MBA, learn your basics, take up your job, spend about 3-4 years, at least 8 to 10 years, because the more experienced you are, faster is your, I would say, fundraising journey, and faster is your, I would say, kind of, I mean, more are your odds of, making a successful startup. So I would say have as much experience, solid experience as possible. So I would really recommend, unless you're prodigy of sorts, wherein, and that is completely a different thing, I mean, so if you if you have a certain set of career path, and you really don't want to set out on that, completely outrageous, adventurous path of, just starting anything and everything, don't really take it very lightly. You have to compete in the ecosystem, which is which is run by the numbers, which is very calibrated, which is very thoroughly calculated each second, each minute. So take your bet very, very, cautiously, and based on the facts, based on the numbers. So spend significant time learning the basics, your academics during your MBA. After that, take up a job. Work for at least, I would say, 5 to 6 years. By that time, you'll have a thorough understanding of your own, I mean, it's a long-term vision, whether you want to stick and want to grow in your professional journey, or you want to start something of your own. So, I mean, be very realistic in your approach. So anybody and everybody, I would suggest, focus as much as possible on building your academic basics, on building your, overall personality, on building your overall skills. Take up a job, work for 5-6 years solidly, see how corporates work, how exactly is the entire product life cycle, or for that matter, your entire, career path or career cycle, so that you can, in the end of the day, when you have your startup, you'll be leading the team, right? Everybody would be working under you. So you'll have to have that, some sort of career path for your employees. So unless you know yourself, what does that mean? And unless you are able to, kind of implement the strategies, which are, and then again, the employee these days, in my organizations, we have interns from IIT Chennai, we have interns from, in fact, IMA and IMB. So it is very important that you should be a notch better than their game. You should have those, skills to manage such really, really, kind of sharp brains. So work as much as possible. At least about bare minimal, if I could put a threshold, at least about 8 years of solid corporate experience across the board.
all right, ma'am.
All right. So I think we're good.
Thank
Yashika?
Just 1 second interaction with Durgesh, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving such a time. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for taking the time to participate in the interview. Your insight and perspectives are incredibly valuable and provide a profound understanding for our journey and experiences. So,
I wish you All the best. I
Thanks.
wish you all of the guys very, very best. I'm based out in around Delhi NCR. You know, I mean, we can catch up anytime, either whenever I'm in BIMTech, or you can, if you're visiting Gurgaon, we can catch up in my office. Let's sit over a cup of coffee and let's discuss more. And any sort of help, any sort of, you know, kind of cooperation, support, or, you know, whatever you are looking for, do reach out. Yashika has my number. Do connect me, you know, over LinkedIn, and let's stay in close touch because you guys are about to enter in professional world. So take your life,
Thank you so
start taking
much,
your life
ma'am.
seriously. Thoda sa
Thank you.
seriously. All right, guys, have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Have a great day, ma'am.
Thank you for this, ma'am.